All right, so welcome once again. Let's go through the effective webinar value propositions. Now, we mentioned this in one of the earlier ones, the earlier lecture. Now we're going into details, right, of how the structure of the value proposition should be. So we mentioned three elements out there, right, of value proposition. One is smoothing of resistance, and I refer to it like a Kubler-Ross model, right? People are having their some issues somewhere or the other, right? And some they are in some zone, and hence they are coming for this digital asset where you probably are tending to solve a problem that they would have. Then we mentioned the audience by the presenter. So you have to be the person they're buying, right? And there are certain nuances for doing that. And then the consistency is the only thing that people will get very easily convinced with to wherever the resistance exists. Clear? So with that, the smoothing of resistance typically comes resistance is a mind block, right? Typically, we use three elements, right? Typically, you use your asset as a vehicle for them to understand how you have, how others have experienced this, how the problem got solved because of the issues they were facing with the virtue before using the digital asset, and then give them some statistics. How many such solutions have been formed, what in the world is happening. This part of the whole elements of research that was done, right, in that particular strategic format or in a methodical way that you've been doing, okay, and then hence the asset. So with that said, the statistics will play an important role, and then effectivity of your product, right? So in all these elements, right, the experiences, the problem people solve, people face, statistics of the world and how it is creating an issue for current scenarios and how many people from your end were helped through. The effectivity of your product should come out with those stories. Okay? And that becomes a vehicle for smoothing their resistance for them. Okay? The asset itself. Then the other factor is the internal fears that people feel, right? This again should encompass those things. So give two more experiences that happened, the problem that was solved, right? Statistics, how other people had the internal fears and how got sorted out, and so on and so forth, for using the digital asset, right? Or any asset as a matter of fact. These things really play a good role for all, tried and tested and all. So same for external fear, right? That is the third, what people would think, or what is suppose tomorrow is a pandemic, what happens? Or there is maybe in your stock part of the stock trading part of the world, there's a crash, what happens? So your digital asset should play that role, and how it, during such elements, what happened and how it helps the purpose. Or if it's a yoga experience, right? External fear could be the fact that the nutritional activities that you have is hampering or creating an issue for the other activities that they're doing, right? So let them know how those two activities will benefit somebody else and how it solve the problem. Now, even if you don't have an experience or a similar situation that has been occurred for smoothing resistances, you might want to give industry examples, right, or some guru or some mentor or somebody who's done this before, right? So that people get assured that somebody relevant has gotten a solution out of this. Okay? So it's important. But if it's not, then the digital asset is not right, okay, at the same time. So please think in those terms always. Right? Is it really an answer to the real world outside? Okay? And then once you get into the rhythm, I think you will already find all these things coming about. So again, the RISE examples, right, is all about what we see in various corporates and individuals are doing this right now and so forth. Hence the structured approach to this. So audience by the presenter. Okay. Now, what does this mean? All about soft skills, what we've been talking about, ethical behavior, compliances, the way you communicate, the way you give examples for, and everything around it. Okay, so but typically what we see in the 6 typical ones that we see is you have to be authentic. Okay, so you should be loving what you're doing, and you should be so enthusiastic of the fact that what you're selling. You really should love, right? These are going to arise one and rise two principles. Your mindset and what you create, you should be loving it first, right? And you know for sure this is serve somebody's problem, right? And when you're selling this, it's a service, right? You want them to have it. Then you'll go to the extremes by creating that a mission for yourself, which is then larger than you, right? So that authenticity should come out very clearly. That's number one. Number two, empathy, right? So empathy would mean that you should know what is their treading. Now, unless you tread the same waters, you will drown them also. So you should have the empathy with them and understand totally where they're coming from. Then you will be able to provide your authenticity in that and be so sure that this will solve the problem if they have one and the purpose they're going to use it for. Right? So empathy is very important. So relate to them accordingly, and it will come out in your communication very clearly. Be transparent, right? Something you are offering, you let them know it is for sales. You will let them know that I'm selling, yes, right? Because selling is for you as a service for them. Because you cannot otherwise reach to anybody. And if you don't put a value to your product, then it's other people don't value it enough, and so on and so forth. Right? So that transparency should exist with a lot of confidence. Communicative, right? So this we've talked about throughout. Your communication has to be top of the line. You should be communicating what you mean. That means what people want to hear from you. Not necessarily what you want to hear, but what is it that really is the answer to the queries that they have in their mind, not just the written questions. Okay? That. Your true mission, right? Your mission has to be bigger than what you are. So that should always come into play at first. And so again, it's very important to go through this. And I've been laying importance on that day one. Then walking the talk, right? So what you're proclaiming or what you're showing or what you think you will be able to do, make it happen, right? See those videos from Jasvir and the others that we talked about, right? More than the fad, it is all about your passion and so forth. So that walking the talk will happen if you have those, okay, very clearly. Jasvir being a clear example of that, right? Okay, or Elon Musk, or any of these big names that you have around you. These guys walk the talk, right? They commit to work and they just do it. Okay. With that said, consistency. Okay, another soft skill that one should have, right? Uh, Now, for you to deliver a sensible webinar for scaling purposes, right? You need to practice it, right? I told you, right? You go and do it on your own also, mirror webinaring and so on so forth, so that you get that confidence and you know exactly what you're talking about and why you're talking. So why? Because sometimes if you're not in the practice, the spoken words will be different than what you're actually thinking, or the digital asset which will mean anything else, right? So let them be in confidence. So inner voice should work with the external world. So your writing skills have to improve, and that is when the synergy happens. The amalgamation will result into the symphony that comes, right? So with that said, whatever webinars, live ones that you create, learn your mistakes. It's okay, and you can always apologize for whatever you're doing, right? In case it's a disaster, but you can secretly know what it is doing at the same time if somebody not noticed it. But learn from it, then execute, right? The difference between a madman and a genius is that, right? A madman will repeat same thing without getting this, will get the same results, right? But a genius will take the result and do something different next time to get a different result, right? So that's what you should be doing. So you learn from those mistakes, just to become a genius out of it, okay? And then of course enjoy what you're doing, right? Once you start doing it repeatedly, you start enjoying it, right? You want to do it more often, and then you over deliver, and then you connect with people. So very slowly you will easily connect. You'll want more audience to connect to, and you start talking the language out, and so on. So practice will make you perfect in case you are not in. But whoever is a pro and a master, they would know what I'm talking about, right? They relate to what I'm mentioning. And where with the lobby you have to know your subject. So your niche, your research, etc. should make you a pro in your niche at least, right? Not necessarily a pro at the digital asset you created, because you will get with time in case you're not. But and your subject, you should be the king, right? So that's how, and you should love it. With that, let's jump to the next one, which would be your the aesthetics that you're carrying. So these are some reasonable ones before we conclude with the challenge to be taken. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.